wesn.
Hello and welcome. I am Kemuel Pascal and you are viewing One and One here on a WESN Content Capital. The future of politics here in Trinidad and Tobago and the political landscape. What does that look like going into 2025? On this episode of One and One, we are speaking with Ms. Michaela Pandey about the political landscape here in Trinidad and Tobago and what does the future look like for her and her political party, the Patriotic Front. Ms. Pandey, hello and welcome to One and One.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Certainly. Ms. Pandey, give us an idea as to what you have been up to over the last, let's say, 2 years after launching your political party back in 2019, so that'll be just over 3 years now.
Yeah, so we launched just before the election, so that would have been, I think it might be, is it 2019? It's sometime around that. Time seems to fly so fast, and especially with COVID, you know. When COVID came along, there was a bit of delay, so we weren't able to move. But in a nutshell, our aim has always been to be on the ground. It was my vision to have the party viewed as a humanitarian party. And because of that, charitable work, being on the ground, listening to people, hearing their voice, how they feel about things, how they feel about politics, that was very important to us. So we were doing that. I don't necessarily believe that the way is to make a whole lot of noise and not do anything. I think you have to be able to walk the talk. So getting people to know a little bit more about the party, about us, where we stand on certain things, what our vision for the country is, and sort of that kind of thing. And of course, as I said, COVID did put a bit of a damp on things, I guess, for everybody, including the government and the opposition. So it was just a matter of trying to use resources in the way that we possibly could to still kind of be out there, while still looking on and hoping that the government and the opposition would get their act together and do the right thing for the country, or do the best things for the country, work together, perhaps in the interest of the country. And I have to tell you, I haven't seen that happening in or out of the parliament.
Certainly, and I can agree with you. But when you look at the political landscape, because I mean you kind of touched on it, which is my second question too. When you look at the political landscape at present, what do you make of it? The PNM, they are going into their internal elections in a few weeks. Then you have the UNC, they are doing their thing on that side in terms of bringing up certain things. What do you make of the political landscape at present?
Oh, I think politics in Trinidad and Tobago is very dated. I genuinely think that. I think we need a modern approach to leadership. And I think the first way that you begin by doing that is being able to accept and admit when you're wrong, or that perhaps you need help, or that you've gone down a path that you should not have. But I don't see anything of interest. The political landscape in Trinidad and Tobago is no different than it has always been. What I see is mudslinging, saying things about people, their families, dirty politics, accusations of corruption, back and forth, nothing really happening about that, petty politics as well, corrupt politics. That's what I see. And I think a lot of other people in Trinidad and Tobago see that as well. It hasn't changed. And whether that is because the leaders have been there for a long time, or whatever the reason, but something hasn't changed. And I feel as the world has moved on, we haven't. And that's what I said in the video that I had put out. I said, you know, we haven't been able to learn from this crisis, so there was no opportunity created from this pandemic, this crisis that happened, because for some reason I feel that the leaders are not willing to think outside the box. And And that is frustrating people. There are no novel solutions to anything. They simply want to do the same thing they've been doing over and over and over and expect different results. And that is the definition of insanity. You can't do that. The world has moved on and is moving on. We are getting left behind. Our neighbors in CARICOM are moving on. We are getting left behind. Yet we have some of the greatest minds in Trinidad and Tobago. So to be honest, I haven't seen any difference. I don't think the political landscape has changed. We're still into practicing tribal politics. Pekong is one thing, but I mean, it's gone into a level that I personally think and find distasteful, where it's no longer funny, it's no longer witty, it's no longer, you know, the times where I grew up in, when my father was in politics, or Mr. Manning was in politics, or Georgie Chambers was in politics. There's nothing like that. There seems to be this hatred between the opposition and the government, whichever one is there in either capacity. And there's this hatred, this unwillingness to work together. And to me, that is a level of selfishness that cannot move the country forward, in my view.
Based on what you have said, or what you just stated rather, it's clear to me that you are speaking about a leadership crisis on both ends, because, and I say both ends because whilst we do have third parties that are attempting to emerge, like you have Gary Griffiths and the NT at present, you've had so many other parties, you have Philip Edward Alexander. I mean, people don't necessarily like to hear about these people, just based on what the view of them, but you have those people coming forward, offering themselves to be prospective leaders for the country, but then you have those who have been there, who have been tested based on what they have been through over the years. It's clear that you're speaking about leadership. Why do you think that we have been missing the mark? Because you mentioned great minds, and there are many great minds here in Trinidad and Tobago, but people are just unwilling to come forward for whatever reason. Why do you think we've been missing the mark where politics is concerned in terms of us moving forward?
My dear, the wrong people are coming forward. And I'm not saying that of those who have already come. I don't want to criticize anybody. But the good, decent, hardworking people that have integrity and love and passion for their country, that have a vision and want to see their country move forward, don't get involved. And can you blame them? Of course you can't blame them. You can't blame them because look at the state of the politics in Trinidad and Tobago. Look at the state of it. People are terrified almost to get involved in politics because politics is no longer what your vision is, you know. Politics is what you do on the outside. This and corruption and this allegation and this one and people's wives and husbands. I mean, it is one cesspit. Who wants to get involved in that? Nobody wants to get involved in that. And therefore, we have to change that. And until we change that, good people will not get involved. The other guys, I think it's great that they're coming forward. Why not? For me, the more the merrier, because it gives people choice. And I think that's nice. The more people that come forward, the more people that, the more parties that are formed, the more people that put themselves forward as options for people to sit back, the population to sit back and say, well, listen, let me look and see who is offering something that can give hope for the future, who's giving solutions to the problems that we have. And I think that's good because you need to be able to say, I think party this, party A, party B, party C, whatever it is a viable option. And so hats off to everybody try. Me, I will continue to look for and try for the best people to come forward, humanitarian people to come forward, people who genuinely have country before self, and we need those people now more than ever. So I will always make that call. I don't practice the same type of politics like some of the guys who are out there. And that too is good. I'm sure there are people out there who like listening to noise, and there may be some who don't.
AM Prime on WESN, the only place from 6 to 7:30 a.m. where you can get the most analytical and thorough interviews and regional reports.
The Barbados Labour Party, led by the Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley, once again able to achieve a clean sweep in yesterday's general election.
I think a lot of people have underestimated the power of Tobago nationalism.
If the government is afraid to say it, I, Martin George, I am saying it this morning on your show, Andy, there will be no carnival before Ash Wednesday.
Grab a cup of coffee and start your day right watching AM Prime with Andy Johnson weekdays from 6 a.m. Only on your content capital, WESN.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the right and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
And I agree with you. And the obvious question that people viewing will say, or probably are saying, is why well, you have offered yourself back in 2019, you launched your party, the Patriotic Front, but many people have stated rather, they have not heard or seen anything of you other than whatever panels that you have been on, speaking about stuff and offering new ideas, but they haven't really seen your party actually come forth and do new things, because you mentioned that the wrong people are coming forth, but then there are people like you who people actually want to see in politics, and they are saying that you yourself aren't coming forward.
For me, the best way to put it is, in politics, everything is also timing. I think you can't be making noise every Monday morning to get up 5 minutes of fame and or headline. We've had so many beautiful, brilliant, intelligent, young, not so young, mature, experienced people come out to us that we've been working with. But yes, of course, there is a time where you have to come out and you have to say, listen, this is what my party stands for. This is what our vision is. This is what we think for Trinidad and Tobago. And definitely you will be hearing that because I think you've heard probably enough from some of them already. So yes, the election is in 2025, and it's not all just about headlines and going on shows. I think it's lovely to come and talk and people to hear you, but there are other people in the party that you will be hearing from as well, which I also think is important, because I don't feel cult of personality is the way to go. I see this happening over and over, and therefore you have to have good people who will be out there and speak as well. But I think people have to get acclimatized to the idea. And I don't say third party, I always say new party, because if you say third party, you've called your position in the race already. So I don't use that word at all. So that's what we've been doing. And like I say, there's so many other dimensions to politics, right? Working with lesser abled people, lesser fortunate people, children in homes, for example. We've been doing a lot of things like that. And that is, to me, what politics is about as well. Getting up and shouting and screaming every Monday morning about what did PNM do, or what did UNC do, or what it is, and they keep... That's the same. So perhaps people are not accustomed to this type of politics just yet. But we will warm them up to it, don't worry.
I agree with you, but you mentioned timing at the very, very beginning of the answer to that last question, and I can't help but recall that back in 2019 when you launched, which was some 16 months before the 2020 general election was due, you mentioned that it's time, because the headline captured it very, very beautifully. It said, it's time, and those were your words back then. So you mentioned in timing now seems a little bit contradictory to based on what you were saying
no,
then. Do you think that
you have to understand? Sorry.
Do you think that you would have launched at the wrong time based on the answer to your question? No.
Oh, absolutely not. Because I think if your party is there for longevity, you don't just jump up and run into an election and just start going crazy. Absolutely not. It was time. It is time. It continues to be time. We are accustomed to somebody forms a party, you go quickly, you so it'll be a year or 18 months, 19 months, however much time. You jump into the election and then everything disappears. Or you form a coalition or try to form a coalition and parties come together and then everything is done. If you want to build a party that is sustainable, that will have longevity, my darling, 19 months is a very short time. You have to work and work. In fact, 2018, going back even further than that, was when I had a meeting in Gaston Court, a sort of open platform, asking people if they were ready for a new party. And people were definitely ready for new parties then. And then we put things together and you have to do your bits and bobs, and there's the technicality and the logistics, and all of that is fine. But you don't wake up and have a party that's established without it establishing itself. And that takes time. And it is not, you see, when the goal is simply, the be all and end all is simply to fight an election, we know what happens after that. Some 50-something parties contested the last general election. I don't even know if you know that. Timing is not just when you launch a party. Timing is not just when you come out and say something. Timing in politics, timing in governance is absolutely everything. And you have to have your ear on the ground. You have to know how people are feeling. Leaders too often decide, well, this is what I want. If I want this, I do that. You have to listen to people. That's what timing is. So I think in terms of, shall I go and do this, or shall I form a party? That's not what I meant by timing. Sorry if you didn't understand.
No problem. But you mentioned just now, you said establishing itself. But do you think that your party has been able to establish itself other than understanding, well, you would have launched a party in 2019 because you mentioned that. And I don't think that people fully understand or would fully agree with the fact that you are saying that it's about establishing yourself when you yourself really haven't really done any work that people can see, tangible work that people can see in terms of establishing your party.
Yeah, well, tangible in terms of putting ourselves out there, no. We think that we're happy on the ground, though, definitely. Tangible in terms of that people know about us, I think people know about us. Tangible in terms of would we be ready for 2025? We absolutely will. I don't know what else you're asking me, but if you're saying to me that do we need to be more visual, absolutely. But our strategy is just slightly different. But that's why we came out and we said, look, we're going to fight 2025 because everybody was asking, are you going to fight 2025? Are you not going to fight 2025? And yes, we are. Therefore, your campaign and your rollout becomes completely different to what it was before.
So if you're out there that may be wondering, when am I going to see the Patriotic Front in my constituency, in my electoral district, what would you say to them?
The Patriotic Front has been, and I feel the problem is I haven't been in your constituency, and therefore you probably didn't see me. But my darling, we have been in constituencies. In fact, I would say almost all, not in public meeting terms, so going and having public meetings, but I don't think that was a time for public meetings. Perhaps that time is coming now. But definitely you're going to see us, and you will definitely see us in 2023. And I hope you don't get sick of us and say, call me back on and say, Miss Pani, I'm seeing too much of you. I liked it better when I wasn't hearing anything.
You mentioned at the very start when we just started having a conversation that a political party must be able to fully and truly explain and detail their plans, and not just their plans, but outline what the party represents to the country of Trinidad and Tobago.
No, I didn't say that.
Sorry?
I said at the beginning, I didn't say that. I said at the beginning that a political party must be able to have a vision and say what they see for Trinidad and Tobago. Every political party, to the extent that while they are campaigning or while they're getting their name out there, people must be able to say, one, what is this party's position on housing? What is this party's position on squatting? what is this party's position on crime? What is this party's position on whatever issues that affect them? So definitely, yes, people have to know that. You would assume.
Which is essentially the same thing that I was attempting to explain to you. So in that context, I want to ask you the question of what does the Patriotic Front look like, or would look like in a government here in Trinidad and Tobago? What are some of your ideas and some of the values that you all share or would want to share with the people of Trinidad and Tobago?
First of all, I think it's really important to have accountable, transparent government based on meritocracy. And I think we hear about accountability and transparency, but we never really hear about meritocracy. And by that, I mean the right people getting the right job, because based on merit, as opposed to them because they know somebody or because they're related to somebody. So that definitely is something I think is very important. The next thing I think that we believe that is the core or the root of all the problems, and what I think people want to see is you have to get rid of waste, corruption and mismanagement. And if you look at the state or the state companies or even the regional corporations, for example, it's waste, corruption, mismanagement, so therefore nothing functions. And I think that is very, very important. I think Trinidad and Tobago also needs to move technologically forward. Even though we have seen, and I think it's important to give credit where credit is due, we have seen that you can go online and do things. At some stage in the process, you have to turn up, or you have to bring a document, right. Or you must have expected, or your parents, or somebody must have expected. Even when we were doing the grants and they had locked everything down, you still had to physically go there. So I find that's a little bit. In 2022, I mean, it's nearly done. We're going into 2023. So we need to move the country forward. I also feel that people in our country need to have hope, and especially young people, that there's something for the future. In terms of the creation of jobs, we continuously say that, and people say, "Oh, I'm going to 60,000 jobs. I'm going to create this. I'm going to do that." The reality is, how do they intend to do that? We talk about diversification, and they do absolutely nothing. There's nothing going on with agriculture. We have extremely high food prices. Agriculture gets the least amount of money. We talk about tourism. But we don't talk about tourism in an advanced way. We don't talk about tourism as an eco-tourism. The world has become environmentally conscious, so we don't do things like that. So for me, I think an equality and fairness and non-discrimination are things that we think are huge things, but it's easy to move forward if you have the political will to do things the right way. And me personally, I just don't think that it's there. And if it was there, surely we would have seen it.
Ms. Pandey, I agree with you on many of those things that you mentioned, and some of those things are very, very deep-rooted and systemic issues that would require a lot of work on some fronts and doesn't necessarily require a lot of work on the other fronts.
Correct.
But recently I saw something where someone said we're expecting our politicians who are in their 60s and their 70s to come up with solutions for persons who are in their 20s. So maybe that's why people see you as see some amount of hope in you in terms of what would offer and can offer to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Do you think that's the issue, or do you think age is an issue at all?
Age is a huge issue, and there's certain people who have branded themselves on age, and therefore it's hard to come back from that. Let's be honest, you're a young man, brilliant, good-looking, intelligent young man. You think very quickly. I like that. I admire that about you. So somebody like you will have to be politically attracted to something that you can relate to, okay? When we go to schools, like I've done quite a bit of that. I work with the schools in Central. When you go to speak to young people, if you're not young or vibrant or younger or vibrant yourself, the first thing is you don't relate to them, so you don't listen. And yes, I think that has a huge part to play with it. I also think that the world is moving in that direction. And therefore, you look at Finland, 36. You look at Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand, my girl, you know, come on. You look at even Macron. You're looking at people in their between 30 to mid-50s, even if so much, but definitely most of them are in their 40s, 45, 46. The world is moving like that. When Justin Trudeau came onto the scene, he was 43 or something like that. I think it's either Denmark, I mean the entire country. But even if we stop looking outside, look what happened in Haiti. Look what happened in Grenada. Look at what's happening in Guyana. I mean, Irfan is a young, early 40-something young man. And the reason why that's working is young people are coming out to vote. So if you vote in a certain way based on tribal politics, they'll probably stay exactly where you are, but young people have a say and they have a vote. They don't look at things as their vote belongs to anybody. You know, we continuously hear that, another party will split the vote. When you say that, that is so insulting to the people you feel that don't have a mind to think of their own, to actually go out there and vote for somebody else based on what you're hearing. It's as simple as that. So yes, to answer your question, if I got it right, is I think people want to see younger people. They can relate to younger people. I think your solutions have to also be more advanced, if that's the word. We are living in a country that almost feels so backward in terms of technology. But maybe it's because the leaders themselves are not, you can only have certain people come for a certain time and do your TikTok and social media things and somebody else is doing it. But in terms of you actually saying, how are we going to use technology to move the country forward? I don't know if those who are there have what it takes.
Certainly. Ms. Pandey, well, we are basically out of time, but in 10 seconds, what would you like to leave with the people of Trinidad and Tobago? 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Please do not think about splitting the votes. Do not listen to that. That is propaganda. Look at all the parties. Look at them with an absolutely open mind. Think clearly. See what they have to offer. You will be hearing us in 2023. And God bless. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. And we'll be seeing you soon.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Ms. Pandey, for joining us here on One and One.
Thank you for everything. Thank you, my dear.
Well, this has been One and One. I am Kemuel Pascal. Thank you so very much for joining us in this episode.
WESN.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former Mayor Louis Lee Singh. Available at all the Home Store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue, St. Anne's. WESN 30A Gattaca Street, Woodbrook. Metropolitan Bookshop, Ariapita Avenue, Woodbrook, and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People.
Dear Santa, this year has been rough. Prices going up and with dust going down. So Santa, this year for iShare, we ain't asking for no toys and no gifts. We just asking for food and non-perishable items to help all the people who can't buy them.
Ho ho, that's very nice.
Hey, Santa, you here? You bring the stuff?
Oh, well, no, I just outside.
Santa, me and you go get where?
Well, I know reach.
Santa, watch me. Let's go and get a thing for me, please.
Who child is this?
iShare, the Devon Matthews Charity Drive is back. And we're asking for your donation of non-perishable food items to help those in need. Contributions can be made at Dev's Barbershop, Scrapes Car Wash, The Bocas Restaurant and Bar, or for more information, contact 724-8616 or 785-8238. iShare, brought to you by the No Youth Left Behind organization, the Lit Content Foundation, and the friends and family of Devon Matthews.
I'm Andy Johnson, and you're watching WESN, the content capital.
AM Prime on WESN, the only place from 6 to 7:30 a.m. where you can get the most analytical and thorough interviews and regional reports.
The Barbados Labour Party, led by the Prime Minister Mia Motley, once again able to achieve a clean sweep in yesterday's general election.
I think a lot of people have underestimated the power of Tobago nationalism.
If the government is afraid to say it, I, Martin George, I am saying it this morning on your show, Andy. There will be no carnival before Ash Wednesday.
Grab a cup of coffee and start your day right watching AM Prime with Andy Johnson weekdays from 6 a.m. Only on your content capital, WESN.
I'm Keaton Shaw and we are WESN, the content capital. What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers? Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best.
I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in-depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the content capital.
I'm Sean Michael Small, and we are WESN, the content capital.